Okay, Uberto.
Must be
So
mastermind time.
yeah, man, is the storm gonna hit you guys or what? This gnarly thing that's sweeping across the country?
It's it's oh, it's not this storm, but a couple of days ago we went to my wife went to the supermarket and nobody was around. It was because, the wind was swirling and everything. And then by the time she got back to the car, a shopping cart had driven by the wind. She thinks it was 50-mile-an-hour winds, wrecked our fender. So,
No way.
yeah, you
Serious?
got to be yeah, you got to be careful with these high winds.
No kidding, man. Well, I know it's swirling all over the place. So interesting stuff.
Everybody be safe out there. And I know originally you're down south, so that's where the hotbed of weather activity has been.
At the moment, it's true. We ain't
That's it.
scared. All good. All right. All right. People are coming in from everywhere. Great to see people. Welcome, welcome.
Jim,
Okay.
Jim has a good point. Hi, Jim. Jim says you need pre-1973 cars when they were made out of steel. I have to say, in the early 80s, my father-in-law gave us a big old Crown Vic station wagon, the kind with the fake wood panels. Okay, this thing was gigantic. Okay, and I was driving it around, and a lady ran into the side of it. She just shot through a stop sign, and I was going through. I had the right of way, and she just boom, like a T collision, right? And so the insurance guy came, and I was in the right, and so they gave me a check. He said, "Holy smokes, you're lucky that you were in this car." And it was a little crease in the metal. Her car
Mhm.
was like wrecked. Between the sheer mass and the incredible steel that was on these old Fords. Like originally, he pointed to my other car, Subaru. He said that other car would have been totaled if you were driving the other car. So Jim, you're right.
Okay, well, I'll stay out of the wind because here's my story. I went to go ride to 8 miles away is a restaurant that I like for lunch, and my buddy calls me up and says, "Let's meet for lunch." I go, "Oh man, I'm going to ride my bike," and I wasn't paying attention. It 100% due south, and I'm thinking, man, this is the easiest ride ever. What is going on here? Because the wind was blowing 25 miles an hour at my back. And when I came out of lunch and turned around and went, I have 8 miles of 25-mile-an-hour wind straight in my face, white capping all across the bay, whatever. It was like riding uphill on a slant for 8 miles straight. Really fun.
Wow, cool. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Anna, Lisa, Bridget, Bruce, David, Jim, Lisa, Mary Francis, Queen. Oh, love that. Scott, nice to see you all. More people are joining, but let's just jump right in. Originally, I just want to share my screen and just share a couple of odds and ends AI type things because it's been my message as of late that really the day-to-day um aspects of AI really, really help. Okay, so let me just, since I'm on the screen, let me also show this in case it helps somebody. So one of our dentist websites wanted us to create a blog page about them hiring their hiring for new assistants and stuff like that. And so I did that. And then I realized that we weren't integrating enough with their social media. So see this on the side here originally where it says latest Instagram post, you
Mhm.
know, I, you click it and then it goes right into their Instagram page. Okay, which is cool. And then you can come here and look at all of this stuff. But anyway, this little feed here on the left side of your website, you might say, well, how do we do that? Instagram doesn't give you like a little embed feed so that you can get this kind of a feed of um your latest Instagram post, right? So let me just show you how that's done. It's a neat little trick for anybody that needs to do this kind of stuff. There's a service called RSS.app, and it's this page here. And basically, an RSS feed is a way of coding so that any source of information that publishes an RSS feed can be consumed and made into an embeddable resource into a web page, right? And so, you can embed news feeds and there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do that. It's been standard practice for many, many years on the internet. Well, it's a free account. You open it up on RSS.app, and then all you do is in this field here, you go and you copy the URL. See, I'm still highlighted of say an Instagram account, and then you put it in the app right here, and then it converts it into this RSS app, and you take that and you just pop it into your website, and that's when you get this kind of a feed right here. So that's just a little trick to if you want to embed other sources into your own website, and linking out and linking in is always important for SEO. So I just wanted to share
And
that.
by the way, anybody has questions about this, please pop them into the chat. I know that was pretty fast. The whole idea is any kind of link or backlink you can get is going to send signals to the
Exactly.
search engines and the answer engines and GEO, basically saying, hey, um, there's traffic here. This is important and it's going to get you better rankings. Uh,
Exactly.
any
Right.
worth mentioning this GEO stuff that's really getting hotter and hotter, Hubie?
Yes. As a matter of fact, let's just take an aside for that and mention that to our audience, just to keep everybody on the cutting edge. So originally, I know that the other day you were running a report, our weekly, monthly reports to our clients and so forth, and you came up with the idea of including a little teaching moment in them about uh, AI. Okay, so please spend 30 seconds on the value of including and positioning yourself as an AI expert in your communication to anybody. Anybody in this mastermind, by the fact of being in this mastermind, you're qualified to talk about the latest in AI. Okay. Tell us about why they should do that, how that positions you, and then tell us specifically, originally, what this week's AI message was.
So what we do when we send out monthly reports to our clients is at the very, very top. So we break the reports down into three very clear sections. What is the activity that we have done on your behalf? What are the results that have come in as a result of that activity? And what are highlights worth mentioning? And of course, because most of what we do is to get people higher rankings, that generally the highlights are generally where have we gotten more terms to number one, where have we seen huge increase in keyword rankings or something like that. But in order to showcase ourselves as experts that go above and beyond all of that, at the very top of the reports, before activities, results, and highlights, we have a thing called the AI update. And in the email that goes along with this report, we always state, and make sure you pay attention to the AI update to keep yourself on the cutting edge because it's moving faster and faster, and this gives you a competitive edge in the marketplace. And then it gives me an opportunity to riff about something, or sometimes Hubert, sometimes others, riff about something to do with AI that A, enhances our reputation as being the experts, and B, this newsletter goes out to clients and prospects. So think about it. If you're putting out a newsletter and you're sending that out to prospects and they see that, they're like, man, these guys are real experts. But they see it over and over and over. And each time it enhances our reputation, builds our authority, et cetera, leading therefore to more trust in the marketplace and more people that are going to sign up for your services. In this particular case, the AI update was all about generative engine optimization. So GEO. So there's SEO and there's GEO. Well, here's what you need to do to become a little more savvy than anybody else about GEO. You go to Perplexity and you type in, what is GEO and how does that work? And then it'll pull it up for you. And then you can talk about it and sound like an expert. Really difficult, right? All you have to do is stay ahead of the game with everybody else. GEO is basically a new type of content optimization geared toward Gemini, OpenAI, ChatGPT, Bard, etc. So it's a new way of basically creating content using largely long tail keywords, language queries, and the natural answers that would come from a human, including that in your content that you're putting out there to go along with your SEO. So GEO and SEO. Again, as has been the case for the last few years, and I'm sure Hubert's going to talk about the recent Google update, the algorithm update, with GEO as the same way as SEO, the priority is content, great content. the search engines and the generative engine optimization both want great content. So you want to do both. So if you're doing great content anyway for SEO, you're probably covered for GEO. But it's a new thing that is out there that is basically it's SEO targeting targeting AI platforms is basically what GEO is. Hubert, you want to add to that?
Yes, and just a couple of we don't need to get into the rocket science of this, but just a couple of differences between regular SEO and, optimizing for search engines. Perplexity and other search engines are positioning themselves as answer engines, meaning they're focusing on answering your questions. Even Google itself, right, it wants to be answering questions. The importance of having FAQ sections on your website cannot be overstated. As a matter of fact, let me demo this, Ridgely. And some people think I may have gone too far, but I believe I haven't. And we'll come back to this, the 2025 core update. It's an important thing that just happened. But let me just show you. I started showing you this website earlier. This was the client that we just happened to be talking about. Southern Smiles of Sylacauga. It's a dentist website down in Alabama. And if we go to family dentistry, okay, so here's the page and blah, 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 and the pictures and typical, and here's the approach of family dentistry. But look at this section right here, okay? It's an FAQ section, right? It's about family dentistry, and here's an intro, and then we tuck it away in little accordion sections so as not to overwhelm people at the beginning, right? But we like lots of content because Google likes lots of content, right? And so we have an entire FAQ section here, for family dentistry. Then if you go to, say, preventative dentistry, here's the page, blah, 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 brushing your teeth, here are some pictures, lovey-dovey, family, blah, blah, blah. Now here's yet another FAQ section on preventative dentistry, right? With a whole different set of FAQs specifically for preventative dentistry. And it just goes on and on and on. If I go to cosmetic dentistry, here's the page, smiles, before and after, proof. But look, here's another FAQ, okay? So what I'm saying is, answer engines like to answer questions like, look at this one. How do I know if I'm a good candidate for cosmetic dentistry techniques? When Andrew was on here last talking about how to do effective SEO, I had asked him. So it's all about the content, right? He said, yes and no. You need the content, but the content originally needs to say, explain what you do and where you do it. Meaning, I do cosmetic dentistry, but I do it in Sylacauga, Alabama, right? So if somebody asks Perplexity, hey, how do I know if I'm a good candidate for cosmetic dentistry? I'm in Sylacauga. Here's a ready formed question and answer already, specific. So why wouldn't any of the um, AI engines just look at this and take it, right? We had a startling result the other day, originally. One of our dentists in a very competitive space, Las Vegas, you asked Perplexity, right? Who's the number one dentist, a cosmetic dentist in Las Vegas? And what did it say? Our dentist. Why? Because
Yeah,
our
after
page,
4 months. We've only been working with him for four
yes,
months. To go to the top of the search engine for cosmetic dentist in Las Vegas, that's ridiculous.
yes. And you know why the search engines say that? The AI engines say that because our content says Dr. Todd Snyder is in the top 1% of cosmetic dentists. It's not rocket science originally. If you want the answers to be in a certain way, you have that content on your webpage. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, and again, we just got the new Google algorithm change. So Hubert, let's talk
Yes.
about it. What you got?
Okay. So a couple of times a year, Google does what's called a core update. Okay. So the core update is like we're right now in the middle of the March one. So there's some volatility around it. And what's the bottom line? The bottom line is this right here. Puts even more weight on content quality and user experience. Okay. So look, content that lacks depth, originality, and expertise will struggle to rank. Okay. Again, tell the people what you do, tell them where you do it, that's the geography, and tell them how you do it, right? You cannot expect to rank well if you have a web page that has one paragraph of text on it. You have to have page, a page of content that's 1,500, 2,000 words. Now, you might say, well, nobody's going to read that. But there are actually two audiences for your web page, the human audience and the Google bot audience. Okay, so let me actually originally show them an example of, and again, folks, this is our examples are in dentistry, but this can apply to any niche. This is the doctor that we had ranked #1 in Perplexity for, who's the top 1% dentist or blah 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 whatever. Okay, so here's a beautiful website. Now, note the following: the big fonts are for the humans, the little fonts are for the search engines. What comes first in this one? The little one. Concierge Cosmetic Dentistry in Las Vegas. That's actually wrapped in an H1 tag. So there's a little coding behind there to tell the search engines that this is very important. But when a human scrolls through the page, they hit on the larger points, right? And so beautiful pictures, a luxe kind of a feel, but then humans just have to like look at the big um, headlines. We went and sent the guy Federico over there to film this video, right? So here's the beautiful
Obviously,
video.
everyone's time is valuable. We recognize that. That's part of the reason we built this facility.
Okay, so look at this right here originally. Top 1% dentist, right? So who's the top dentist in Las Vegas? Well, search engines don't want to make it too complicated. This guy says he's the top dentist. There you go. Boom. Right? So, but then here's some highlights, and then we drop in the little print some of the highlights. But then we go back to Limbic, right? Beautiful results. Top 1% expertise. Total luxury. Complete privacy. See how it's big pictures, big splash, a few words, but then as you get into the site, then you start getting into, more text, right? Now look, FAQs tucked into these accordions so that it doesn't appear text heavy, but there's plenty of text here for the search engines. As you get deeper and deeper into the site, let me just get into here. This is where you now start getting into these blog pages. Okay, now this guy's into glamour, and so this is why there's a lot of glamour photography here, right? So let's just go and take a look at like teeth whitening, right? So again, we need to give the appearance that it's not too much content that people wouldn't consume it. So we have this big splashy picture with no text. That's on purpose. Then you come down here, and again, this is for the search engines. This is for humans. And then you come in here, and here's, the content, right? And so, is it safe? Is it blah, whatever? But look, plenty of pictures to look at. People scroll. They look at the headlines. So this is
Look how
kind of
much
like
content there is. If everybody's paying attention, look at how much content there is. And in the old days, this was an enormous amount of work, which is why people didn't do it. There is no excuse for not doing it anymore when we have AI that can help you write this stuff and it'll do it better than you will. No excuse
exact.
to not put out great content. Sorry.
Yes. And then also to make the content SEO friendly, again, you just follow the rule. Tell people what you do and tell them where you do it. Look, this literally says Dr. Todd Snyder's office in Las Vegas, Nevada, right? And so you actually have to put that kind of stuff in there, right? And so it's all in here. Look, global top 1% dentist, right? And so, and on and on and on. How to choose a cosmetic dentist in Las Vegas, right? Same format. Once you design the format, stick with it. What you should consider when choosing a cosmetic dentist in Vegas, right? And so that's how you kind of seed all of that goodness in there for the search engines. Okay. Now, going back to, let me just stop my share for a second and go back to the, here we go here, and just again wrap up the thought here that we're in the middle of the search engine core updates. And again, it's you got to have it fast loading, make it friendly, mobile friendly websites, strong technical SEO are becoming non-negotiable. Okay, it's just what you have to do. For local businesses, accurate GBP, that's Google Business Profile information, and positive reviews have gained increased importance. So originally, every time a big change like this comes out, we know we're on the right track because what we prescribe is what Google wants, And originally, what did I say the other day when I noticed that something was hard? We were like, yay, we're glad it's hard because we're willing to do hard. And scammers and fly-by-night outfits are not willing to do hard. So Google
Right.
wants people up at the top that earn it. So if it's hard, it's worth doing.
That's right. 100%. That's exactly the point. If it makes it hard, that means more people are not going to do it, and we get to have advantage of that.
Exactly. Okay, now a couple of more uh, odd things just to point out, and then we'll get to our hot seat. We have a wonderful hot seat today. I just want to point out, I just want to show a couple of recent GBP sessions that I had. I do this all day long. It really helps my workflow. Okay. If you have a question about how to work with ChatGPT, ask. I was curious, what's the maximum size of a text file that I can upload to work? And it said 20 megabytes. That explained to me why my 50 megabyte file was not working every time I uploaded it. So if you have a question, just ask. Here's another thing right here. This is the utility type stuff that like I really rely now on AI to use. I had a issue where a list of keywords here that said Gorham ME. I needed to change it to Westbrook ME. Rather than do it myself, I just said in the following list, change all Gorham ME to Westbrook ME, and then I pasted it in the list. And look, it says, okay, here's your updated list. And I'm like, cool. And then I go and copy it. Doing something like this takes like moments to do and saves you minutes, right? So there's no excuse not to do this kind of stuff. Originally asked me to put up a temporary web page, and I thought I'd go the extra mile and have ChatGPT create a graphic. So I said this, give me an image that I can put on my web page for the awards program, the best dentist in America. And then originally he sent me a paragraph of text. So I just said the image will appear above this paragraph. And I pasted it there. I didn't even have to read it. And it, based on that, comes up with this. And it says, here's an award emblem for the best dentist in America, right? It features blah, 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 whatever. I said, great. And then we just put it up on a temporary website we have. Best Dentist 2025, launching Q4 of 2025. And here's the graphic. And here's the thing. And that took like 2 minutes. So originally, AI, the productivity increases just cannot be beat these days. And everybody on this call should be using AI just as a normal, work assistant. It's very, very rewarding and productive.
Well, and it's better than what you can do. And in the old days, maybe you could make the argument that it wasn't, but you can't make that argument anymore because it really does work, do things a lot better than we can. And as a research tool, it's unbeatable, right? So anyway, I don't want to say too much more about it. Let's just do it no matter what. And again, obviously the paragraph below that image that Hubert just saw was not written by me because that will be a waste of my time when I can get in there and give a prompt and go boom and it's done and I just make a little couple of tweaks and it's finished in a matter
Yes,
of 2 minutes as opposed to
exactly.
an hour.
Right. And so folks, just hang tight and you're gonna learn all kinds of stuff and it's just becoming easier and easier. And again, this is a trope but it's so true. Originally, AI is not gonna take your job, but somebody using AI is gonna take your job.
For sure. For sure. There's just no
Right.
doubt about it. All right.
Okay,
We're ready.
fabulous hot seat. If you can bring on Bridget, our dear Bridget,
I
we
am
have
going to do it right now.
and Bridget just typed in, I can be replaced. So, folks, we're bringing on the real Bridget. Okay, there's the AI Bridget right there, but here's the real Bridget right here.
Maybe. You don't know.
We don't know
All
for
I can
sure.
say, all I can say is they invited, this was a while ago now, but they had invited Bridget because of her mastery of all kinds of stuff to go to LA and be on a game show. And Bridget, I know you had told Ridgely and I about this, but just tell everybody else, did you have a lot of fun?
I had a ton of fun. What's crazy though is you have to give up your phone and you have to wait about 6 hours because you're waiting in the studio for them to clear the studio of the other guests. And so they assign you seats and then you have to stay in that order once you go into the studio. And so you get to know the people around you and you start talking and stuff like that, but no phones. So for 6 hours, you're not in the internet, you're not doing anything, you're just relating to people. So it was interesting to people watch too, because there was 100 contestants.
Wow. Well, that's great. So, folks, of the three of us on your screen right now, I'm the only one who has not been on a game show. We're talking about some game show veterans here. Ridgely back in the day and Bridget last year.
Yeah,
Yes,
it was a
indeed.
lot of fun.
All right, so Bridget, thank you for joining the hot seat. I'd like you to do the following, please. If you can tell us about this LinkedIn marketing program that you're involved with, and whether you recommend it and what you have to do to kind of get ready for it and how it goes. And then as a result of it, I know that you're doing a presentation. And then if you can tell us a little bit about your presentation, invite everybody to sign up for it, which would be great. But then also, if you could preview for us some of the concepts from your presentation, I think that would be very, very helpful.
Well, I
And
think you're going to love it because I did a deep dive with my buddy Chat this morning and about 4:30 in the morning and rewrote my talk to match what I promised on the LinkedIn invite because I have a talk that's, boilerplate, but you kind of got to massage it for the audience you're speaking to. And it was just so much fun. I got 3 lead magnets out of that investigation.
really, okay,
Yeah.
cool. So for everybody that doesn't know you, please explain what you do and explain how you've been using LinkedIn in particular to kind of like promote yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a graphic designer. I have my own studio called Babylon Arts. And one of my breakout expertise is in slide design. I've been doing slide design for over 30 years and working live events. So what makes me distinct from other graphic designers is I know what looks good on the screen because I've been there. I've been in these live events. Most graphic designers, they don't teach slide design in school. So it's a very distinctive niche. And so I hired a LinkedIn expert to coach me for a year on how to leverage LinkedIn. And so I'm just a baby in this thing right now. So I can't explain her program completely, but basically she says she's going to teach you a way to get 1,000 new leads on your list every week.
1,000?
Yeah,
Wow.
1,000. So it's not just within LinkedIn, it's using Google Calendar invites as well. So it's pretty, there's a lot to do. And I got bogged down in all the doingness, so that was around November, December, where I kind of froze. And now I'm back on thing. And so I set a date and I said, I got to meet this date. I got to speak. So I'm planning to do my webinar every 2 weeks. And because it's on LinkedIn and because, I have a following of about 5,000 people, and because I'm doing an event, more people are going to get eyes on what I do. And so I'm going to get more leads in LinkedIn, grow that list, but also get people to be on my talk. And for right now, my offer is just to get on my calendar, and I'm going to give a free slide strategy review, so if you have slides, we'll take a look at it and I'll give you feedback. So
Great. So your call to action is to book a call with you. And then now when you say an event on LinkedIn, can you explain like, is this you're hosting a webinar and you're inviting people through LinkedIn, or like what's the concept here?
Well, I mean, I sent the link out to everybody, and whether they have a LinkedIn account or not, they can still register. But when it goes through LinkedIn, then, like I asked you, I reached out to you this morning. I said, I'm just getting numbers right now. You don't have to show up if you don't want, but just sign up because the more numbers I get, the more they'll promote my webinar. And this is my first one. So I think I'm up to 33 right now. And I'm pretty pleased with that. But, I have a large following. I sent it out to my list last night and, did some private messaging to people this morning. So hoping to get maybe 50 or more. And of course, here's the thing, like the 1,000, if you get 1,000 on your list, 300 will sign up, 30 will show up.
Right.
Those are the real numbers.
Yes.
So you have to be, what's up?
Let's put the link in the chat so people can sign up.
Okay, sure.
Yes. So I think
I already
got
signed up,
it.
by the way.
I got
signed
it.
up.
Okay, so yes, so if you could pop that in, that's great. Okay, so folks, sign up. I've seen this presentation. It's awesome. Although I think Bridget has refreshed it, so it's worth seeing again. But even if you can't make it, please sign up. It would help the LinkedIn algorithm to identify this as something worth promoting on their behalf. So
Well,
Bridget,
and
if you
yeah,
don't
if you have
mind,
LinkedIn, it's easy. It's just one button push and you're done because it grabs your LinkedIn information and then shares it with me. So then you get on my
Awesome.
list so I can send you the Zoom link and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was surprised when I did that because I signed up a couple hours ago and I was surprised. All I had to do is go click and it populated automatically. I was like, oh man, that's
Is
nice.
that
I
freaking
don't have
easy or
to type
what?
in my name. I don't have to type in my email. I don't have to type in
Right.
anything. It's like, boom, done. Like,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
Great.
That's
So
nice.
if you can do this for us, please, as for your fellow mastermind members, if you can share
Mhm.
your screen, kind of show us the presentation and kind of walk us through it, but give us like your thinking. We're getting somebody saying HRA phone said the link did not populate. Do they have to be logged into LinkedIn or?
Um, it might, if you have a LinkedIn account, they'll probably want you to log in.
Okay.
Um,
So
and not, you know, I can't test that because I'm a LinkedIn user. So I have no way of testing if it does work if someone doesn't have a LinkedIn account. I think my sister signed up and she's like, likes to be super private. She says, I signed up a LinkedIn account just for you and I'm going to cancel it tomorrow.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so now if you can share your screen, kind of talk us through your thinking as as the agency owner of what you're doing, what you're going to be presenting, and of course, give us some of the value of it, but kind of explain to us like, how this might work for our webinar, I mean our mastermind members.
Right. So I'm just going to show you my script right now. I mean, my slides are not quite done yet.
Yep,
Oh, someone's calling me. I have to hang up. uh,
yep.
so, but what this is what I got through ChatGPT, and if you scroll down here, it's 54 pages
Wow.
in this 3-hour session. And so I actually took my slides, saved it as a PDF because I give this talk over and over again, and it reached through the notes and gave me an outline of the talk and told me, and I copied in the description of the webinar. So I put both of those in there. I said, what's missing in my talk that could match up to the webinar so it stays in order for what they're expecting me to deliver? And so that was the purpose of this exercise. And so, as you can see, I got a lot of data, and I got like 3 versions of slides. So basically, it doesn't give you many slides. It gives you 11 slides, but it was telling me like the science behind this. And I was asking for, what do you call these, percentages?
Statistics. Yep.
Yeah, I can't think of the word. The word's there, but I can't think of it. Proof, proof,
Yes.
or whatever. So and it's writing it in my tone because I have my ChatGPT primed. And of course, I've been putting information in there for over a year, maybe 2 years now, about slides and about design and stuff like that. So it's pulling from all of that as well. But it's also pulling all this information from the public domain. And so what was interesting was the cost of poor slides. I never really could figure out that answer, although I knew it. I just didn't know how to describe it to people. And so this actually gave it to me, you know, lost credibility, lost sales, lost audience engagement. It's like, yeah, that's true. And now I can, say it and, paint that picture of like, if you think your slides are okay, then your sales must be okay. It's not going to be
Right. Now, can you stop?
That's really good.
Freeze right there.
okay.
Freeze right there. Now, Ridgely was saying, harping on this big time yesterday in an internal meeting with us. But this, and Bridget and Ridgely, if you guys can tag team this one, see that right there? What's the fix? That's the whole shebang right there. Ridgely,
Mm-hmm.
just the other day, you were talking about the power, and I know you learned this from Bridget because we've had Bridget work her magic on our slides, but. Guys, riff on this for a second. This is the key right here.
Yeah, for sure. And why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you ask, as Hubert has taught us, why is this effective? What are the key, how is this enhancing whatever it is, your SEO, your sales process, etc., so that you learn to think like the tool. And how do I fix it? Of course. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to try to figure that out ourselves when you can get that data and then process it. I mean, not like we're just
Exactly.
getting the data and trusting it 100%. You're getting the data and then you're processing the data and saying, Oh, and I could explain this way, right? Bridget, I mean, that's what you're
Right.
doing. You're getting the data and you're saying, oh, I could do this, or oh, graphically, I could show that this way, or I could do that this way once you have the data. To not use the tool to get the data is foolish.
Exactly. And then let me just read out loud and it's so that anchor this for everybody. What's the fix? Simplify slides. One key idea per slide. Use emotional images, real people, real emotions, create stronger connections, leverage contrast, show the problem before presenting the solution. Your slides should work for you, not against you.
Mm,
That's awesome.
it's really golden. And I'm working with a client now, and he's discovered AI, and so now he's creating his own AI images for his slides,
Mhm.
and they look AI. They look
Yeah.
horrible. And he is serving up doctors, and he's a lawyer. So it's like you're gonna denounce your credibility by using those images. But you know, he wants to do his own images, and it's like, okay, I guess you don't need me anymore then.
Exactly. Now, one thing I should mention to everybody, so Bridget and both Bridget and Ridgely are big believers in using um the script like literally. So Bridget, when you say, you know, here's my script, you actually put your script in the notes of your slides, right? You in your
Yes.
presenter's view, you can actually see your notes and you follow your script.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah.
about freewheeling this thing.
Well, yeah, it's not freelance, but you know, eventually I'll have it memorized where I don't have to look at it anymore. But sometimes, you know, you just get squirrel. It's like get back
Yeah,
on
no,
track. Here's
exactly.
where you're at.
And even a seasoned presenter like Ridgely believes in practice. Ridgely, when you have a major slide deck to go through, I mean, you're practicing like days in advance.
Yeah,
And over and
samurai.
over again. And here's why. I don't want my attention to be on the slides.
Mm.
I want my attention to be on the audience. And in order for my attention to be on the audience, I have to know those slides so well that I don't think about them. I only think about how is this landing? What needs to be pumped up or dialed down or whatever it may be. Um, and the only way you can do that is to know your content really well so you don't have to focus on, hey, what am I showing now? You could focus on the audience and their reaction to it.
Exactly. Now, Bill has, hi, Bill. Bill has a great question here because, and I'd love to hear, Bridget, your reaction to this. Um, so Bill's asking, how about getting participant interaction? So I know you guys have highly scripted slide decks. What do you do about like audience participation? Do you ask people to hold their thoughts until the end, or like what? How do you deal with audience participation?
Well, for me, I want to make sure I get all the information out, and I do definitely leave it, a place at the end for Q&A. And you know, if they want to put it in the chat because they might forget later, that's fine. I can scroll back through the chat and find it. So I'll always say, you know, if you have any questions, great. Write them down, hold them, because we're going to have a Q&A at the end. So I want them to know that we will answer their questions. And it's better than getting interrupted. And then I get tailed off and then I won't finish my talk.
Exactly. I think it's super
For me,
important
hold on,
to
let me jump
set
in
the
on this.
context. Yep, go ahead.
For me, it's real simple. I don't make a presentation that's not interactive. I just
Mm.
don't. It's if you have some way of getting the audience involved. And the easiest way is, okay, guys, I want you to turn to the person next to you and answer the following question. Boom. Get them talking to each other, participating. You're going to get the energy in the room way, way up. If it's a long presentation, if you have, say, for example, 2 or 3 hours, you can't even think of not doing something like that, or you will lose the audience. In a 45-minute talk, maybe not. A 20-minute talk, maybe not. But if it's any kind of length, you have got to get people involved
I
and
100% agree. Yeah,
some way.
yeah,
So,
100%.
Right.
okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
So any other big points in this that you want to show
Well,
us?
I just wanted to kind of go through some things that I discovered. Like, I got some Q&A. You know, what are the questions they're going to ask? So I asked them, what kind of questions will they ask from this talk? And give me the answers so that I can be prepared and ready. And I'll have those slides made, but they'll be hidden in the deck. So when that question comes up, I can go right to that slide if I need to.
Ah, nice.
And then
Oh, okay. Can you just stop there for a second? Go back to the previous one. Originally, this was big in our upbringing in marketing. This is a Zeigarnik Effect. Jeff Walker was big on that. And so let me just talk about this for a second. Questions from speakers, engagement and influence focus. How can I keep my audience engaged throughout my talk? Use the Zeigarnik Effect. Tease insights and reveal them later. So that's the whole thing about humans. Once you start getting them engaged and starting them on a process of either thinking of something or doing something, they're compelled to finish it. So if you introduce something and then purposely leave it as an open loop and then come back to it, it's very satisfying that you came back to it and they're compelled to finish it, right? And so that originally has worked a lot for us.
For sure. And most people know of it not as what you just said, Hubert. And most people think of it as opening a loop. If you open a loop, people want that loop to be closed. We're psychologically programmed to do that. So I will always talk a little bit about my background with coming from Coca-Cola family, et cetera, and then just drop it. And you know, everybody in that audience is waiting to hear the rest of the story. Like, why aren't you the richest guy on the planet, Ridgely? Well, there's a reason. So I will wait literally till the end of a presentation and then say, okay, anybody want to know what happened to the Coca-Cola fortune? I guarantee you at
they
that
want to know.
moment, everybody is leaning forward in their chair going, not just, yeah, but hell yeah, man, what happened? Right. And then I have a very fun story about how that ended and what happened and why it's all locked up still to this day and blah, blah, blah. And it brings me right back down. Right. So, opening up with that big, powerful hook and then coming up with some way. And by the way, the most effective way of endearing yourself to an audience is being vulnerable and intimate about something that horrible that's happened to you or a mistake that you personally made. So back to you.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have that in my dialogue in the beginning. Why
Yeah.
I became an artist.
Bill's asking for more examples. So let me mention this one. This is common in email, right? And so you can work this to different effect depending on the channel that you're going through. One common one, well, I don't know if it's common anymore, but it used to be very, very effective, is you open a loop originally in email number one, you purposely leave it open, and you don't go back to it until like the third one in the sequence. And then you close it, right? Because then you keep people on the hook. They're like, did this guy forget that he was going to tell me about such and such? And then when you close the loop, it's very, very satisfying. So Queen Asa says the Zeigarnik effect creates great cliffhangers. Yes, very true. Uh, Bridget, before you move on, I also want to point out this one here. Big rookie mistake to put too much text in your slides. What's the biggest mistake most speakers make with slides? Too much text. Text-heavy slides reduce retention by 20 to 30%. Slides should support your words, not compete with them.
So the other thing that I learned from Bridget is talking to the slide is the best way to not have the words on the slide. In other words, a bullet that you can speak to is far more effective than putting the whole sentence or the paragraph on the slide. Much more effective. And
Well,
so
and I relate it to I relate it to the Hollywood effect. You don't see a bunch of bullets on a movie, and when you go to a movie and they don't turn the lights off and the movie starts, you get upset and you're wondering, why are you upset? They didn't turn the lights off. That's what I call a white background slide. A white slide background is like lights in your eyes blinding you. And so this whole relation to the Hollywood effect, we love movies. We're there, we're listening, we're fully engaged. What if your slides were that way? And really, it's just like a nice, great image, a real image, or a great graphic. and maybe a word here and there. Maybe on a few occasions there might be, a sentence or, a quote or something, but mostly it's just visuals, because 70% of us are visual learners. And when we serve that up, as we're talking to the slide, they're hearing our story and tying it to that image. And that creates a super memory.
Yeah, that's great. Could you please show us a couple of your Hollywood level slides, please?
Okay. I have to open PowerPoint. It wasn't open yet, so hang on just a sec. Let me
Okay. So folks, this is quite worth it.
just while that's opening, I got into these psychological triggers, and I'm actually creating a lead magnet with that. And then the messaging and storytelling, message and storytelling framework. That's another lead magnet I'm going to create that I didn't even know existed. I'm like, that's cool. So let's see here.
I love that. Story-driven structure. Engage, connect, and persuade. Great presentations don't list facts, they tell a story. People remember stories 22 times more than facts.
Okay. So I'm going to switch share. And then share again. And do you see the slides?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so this is my title slide. And you see some examples of my slides in the background, faded out so you can see the slides in full color. And then I just ask 3 yes questions. And if no one responds, I say, well, the next time you speak, your audience might look like this then. You want to act like your audience and respond, So I go through that, and then I talk about my client who was a horrible speaker and hired me, and I created her slides for her that really connected, and she got to speak on larger audience. She made $72,000 from a 30-minute talk. So that's kind of like my proof of the pudding. And then I go into my limbic messaging. I have 3 slides on limbic messaging. I think it's important, and I'll say these out loud. And then, just the pictures are limbic as well, right? So I tell them I'm grateful that they're there, and I love what I do. I've always been an artist, and I appreciate your attentive listening. And then I tell them about, little things about me, like I was a 3rd-degree black belt in karate. I've participated in international competitions, and the reason I stuck it out for 30 years is because the guys are really cute. And then this is a picture of me backstage working live events. And, it's fun. This is proof of the pudding that I have that experience. And then I tell a story of like, why did I start my art direction as far as my own business? And I said, I started night classes, taking business classes to see how does a business run. And I was preparing myself for that one day when I might lose my job. And sure enough, I got laid off. And so, it just goes on. This is a logo that I did back in the 80s. This is a song on JoJo Gunn called Babylon. That's why I named my company Babylon, because I love that song. Hubert knows this. I'm a cat lover.
Yes, me too.
And I love cats because they're self-cleaning. And here's some examples of some graphics we do, brochures, websites, landing pages, and of course, slides. This was a deck I did for a client who was speaking on Necker Island to Richard Branson's group. And that was a fun project. And then I get into my story of why I do what I do. So in 5th grade, I'm the one on the left. I loved art class, and I drew for hours at home. And in class one day, they had this art competition. I was so excited. Yes, 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 I love competitions. And I came home and I told my mom I won 2nd place in the art contest, and I knew she would be so proud. However, I had no idea that my stepfather would yell from the other room, "You'll never make money as an artist." Oh my God, I was devastated. I couldn't believe he did that. So I was going to prove him wrong. I got good grades in school. I got a degree in art. And right out of college, I started working at an event company on a drawing board. This was before computers, creating slides and creating animations, just like Disney would create animations, right? And then these are examples of working live events. That was up in Hollywood. This was at the Toyota offices in Dallas. Some examples of clients I've worked with, and on and on. It just keeps going. Let me just show you. I'm going to escape out of here and just show you another share here. Did it stop sharing?
I want everybody to notice how Bridget was talking with the slide, and the slide was supporting what she was saying, backing up what she was saying as it was doing. That's really, really another level of making a presentation is, showing the art. And then I never made money as an artist. I was devastated that, and she's just showing the slides as it's going along. And this motivated me to do this. And this is, by the way, what is that? That's the hero's journey. It's, hey, I was put down and by an exterior force, the bad guy, in this case, it was stepdad, and stepdad put me down, but I made a comeback and I went to school and I worked hard and then I got my degree and then I did this and then now here I am succeeding. That's the classic hero's journey in the middle of a slide presentation with just a few slides. Really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done. And just look at this view, folks. It's mostly imagery, and when there are words, look at the size of the font, meaning it's fewer words and it's larger impact. I mean that's and also the transition, it's all adding up to this Hollywood style.
Yeah, so like these are the before and afters, here's a before slide, here's an after slide. So they kind of get, don't use bullets, bullets kill, but then I show them different ways to create bulleted slides. And then I get into more images of like how an image, like this one image of this, this hot seat caused the guy I was working for to go speechless because I said, this was his slide. And he says, I don't need a picture. He says, yes, you need a picture. He says, no, I don't. No, I don't. You need a picture. And I found that picture. There were a lot of, seats with fire coming out. I was like, no, that's not it. And when I came to this one, he was speechless because look at this chair. It's so comfortable. It's this leather chair you see in the hotel lobbies and you just want to melt in it, right? But then it's surrounded by this desolate land and a pending storm. So you've got comfort and tension. And isn't that what a hot seat is?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see how well thought out that is? If everybody can pay attention to what Bridget just said, that the emotional impact of the comfort and the tension is what makes it compelling.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
So you don't even have to think of that. You just feel it. And that emotion, that's that limbic messaging coming in with images. And this is the person that was standing on stage, made $72,000 from a 30-minute talk. She helps people write their book. And her slides were beautiful.
And if you look at the presenter's view that Bridget is sharing now, you'll see the script notes that are underneath the slide.
These I know by heart. I know what to say, but her whole story was your heart message, discover your heart message, and then frame your message so people hunger for it. We found this image. Look at it's rice in hands, and it's in the shape of a heart. I mean, that's so congruent with this heart message, and it's fun. It's fun doing this because we really are good at finding images. And like this one here, I love this because she came in with a slide. Let me see, just double click. With a slide with just words. And I was like, no, we need to add a picture to this. And that picture is worth 1,000 words right there. Right? And then this tells a story of a lawyer who he has 6 kids, but when he had his first child, it was 2 a.m. feedings for him. And he was, a young lawyer, and he was looking at the baby's eyes. Here, I have to show this to you for real. Let me try this. Is it this one? Yeah. So he's thinking about why he chose to do what he does. And it's because, I mean, look at those eyes. They're looking at you. As I'm telling the story, he says, now I know what I do. It's for my family. And he gets emotional. He would start crying when he'd share that story, but there's no text here. It's just a simple rotation. You're looking in at me, and then he talks about chiropractors. So, we get into that part. And some slides do have white. White's okay. It's, sometimes it wakes them up, but you don't want to slam them with it because you will put them to sleep. within 10 minutes, they'll be asleep. So that's pretty much it.
And how do you,
That's super
Bridget, how do
valuable.
you, like, almost everything that we receive after working with you and learning all of these things from you, it's way too text heavy, way too text heavy.
No, I
How do you,
know.
how do you share with the client, look, this is just way too much and people are bored? What do you do to get through these people? Oh no, we gotta have the facts on there, gotta have the facts. How do you overcome that?
Well, because, okay, here's a great story. Because one of my speaker coaches worked with a high level CFO, and he was giving a talk, and he taught him how to tell stories from the numbers. You're just telling stories from the numbers, so whatever chart or numbers or story you're having, like the one slide. So I did these slides for the former CFO of Microsoft. I'm going to go back to them. So here it is here. And this was his bulleted slide. And I'm going to go back to full screen real quick. Where did the full screen go? Share there. No, I'm already sharing. Sorry. Oh, I know.
All
It's
right.
covered by the thing. There it is. So this was his slide, bulleted text. And I was like, no, 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 no bullets. So I said, let's put the bullets on Post-it notes and put it on a table. And then I said, as we talk about the story he's telling, we'll use the Post-it note as text, right? So he's talking about assessing data and then drawing conclusions. And this whole story was so rich about how his department had such a low satisfaction rating. When he adopted the Microsoft finance department, it was 27% satisfaction rating. He was like, what's wrong? Why doesn't finance get along with marketing, get along with sales? And this underling here saw a report and walked over to sales and spent 10 minutes telling this guy, see this report here? See all these names here? You need to call each one of them and ask them why they didn't renew, and then ask them to renew. And 3 months later, $10 million. And so the finance guy's like, oh, that's brilliant. We should coach people on how to read the numbers and read the reports, because they would just throw the reports at them and said, you deal with it. They never taught them how to interpret the numbers and how to direct sales in a different way, or marketing. So doing that slide. And so I gave him these slides. They were all pictorial. It was based on Star Wars. And he goes, how do I present these? And I'm thinking, oh yeah, he's looking for the bullets. So I said, when you tell that story, that's the picture you tell, and so it really is. The picture reminds you of the story, and you just tell the story. So you're freed up. You're not stuck by trying to read text, and it's a lot more fun to present.
That's
For sure.
great. Excellent. So folks, if you want to see the full presentation, or even if you don't,
Go
help us
tomorrow.
out. Yes, it's tomorrow. Sign up with the link right here that I'm dropping in the notes.
Thank
And
you.
join Bridget. So Bridget, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Hang on tight. Your reward is going to be an awesome, awesome dad joke for you. But before we do so, Ridgely is going to tell us when the next meeting is.
Yes, I am. Our next meeting is not next week, actually. We have a skip. It is going to be the following Friday. So 2 weeks from Friday at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Pacific on Friday the 4th. We're skipping 1 week.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Bridget and Ridgely, it's come to that time of the call where you get your just rewards. So ladies first. So Bridget, what do you call a pony with a sore throat? What do you call a pony with a sore throat?
I don't know. The first words that came is hee haw.
A little horse.
Ah,
And Ridgely, here's one for you. I know you
Okay.
like to use this. This one of your go-to books is, well, now you do it online, but Ridgely, what do you call a dinosaur with a great vocabulary? What do you call a dinosaur with a great vocabulary?
I have no idea.
A thesaurus. Ridgely, before ChatGPT, Ridgely would always take down his thesaurus and look stuff up.
That's true. Now we don't need to do that anymore because there are tools and we should be using them. All right, people, have a great week, rest of your week, etc. We'll see you very, very soon. Bridget, thank you so much and have a great presentation tomorrow.
Thank you
Yes,
very
good
much.
luck. All right.
I'll
Thanks,
see you in a
everyone.
few minutes on my channel.
Bye-bye.
All right. Ciao for now, guys.